Welcome to Anafram Market Perspectives.
Friday Market Recap. Gold breaks records. Trump walks back tariffs and auto jobs shift south. Welcome back to Anafram Market Perspectives. In the next few minutes, we'll walk through the week's biggest stories, from gold's record-breaking rally and Trump's shifting tariff tone to Canada's Stellantis shock, and a deep look at our technical setups on SPY, JPMorgan, and Taiwan Semiconductor. Let's get started. S&P 500 Weekly Recap. Broad recovery and sector rotation. The S&P 500 ended the week higher after recovering from early tariff jitters. Leaders. Apple gained 2.7%, Google climbed 6.6%, and Broadcom surged 7.7%. Semiconductors, including AMD and Micron, extended strong runs on AI optimism. Financials. Bank of America, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo each posted gains above 4%. Energy and industrials. Caterpillar rose nearly 8%, and Chevron advanced 2.8% on renewed infrastructure optimism. Laggards. Oracle slipped 0.8% following a cybersecurity issue, and Eli Lilly dropped about 4% after Trump's renewed comments on drug pricing. Takeaway. Market breadth improved, led by tech and banks, signaling resilience even as policy uncertainty lingered. Tariffs and trade. Stellantis shock hits Canada. The week's defining headline came from President Trump's 100% tariff threat on Chinese goods, which he later softened by suggesting renewed APEC talks with President Xi. But the deeper consequence emerged midweek. Canada lost one of its key auto production lines. On Wednesday, Stellantis announced a $13 billion investment in the U.S., its largest in history, creating 5,000 jobs across the Midwest. The company confirmed it will move production of the Jeep Compass from Brampton, Ontario, to Illinois, a direct fallout from Trump's tariffs. Unifor, Canada's largest private sector union, called it the sacrifice of Canadian auto jobs on the Trump altar. Ontario Premier Doug Ford expressed deep disappointment, urging the federal government to defend the 157,000 workers in Ontario's auto sector. Prime Minister Mark Carney called the Stellantis shift a direct consequence of current U.S. tariffs and said Ottawa would prioritize diversifying trade beyond the U.S. analyst view. Rafael Gomez from the University of Toronto noted, Trump won't relent on tariffs designed to move assembly back to the U.S. Canada must adapt by specializing in auto parts rather than assembly. Takeaway. The Stellantis move marks a turning point. Trump's industrial reshoring is strengthening the U.S. job base, but reshaping North American trade flows under USMCA. Gold breaks records. A safe haven surge. Gold prices soared past $4,300 per ounce, gaining nearly 7% for the week, a new record high. Drivers included safe haven demand, central bank purchases, and speculation of another Fed rate cut. The rally coincided with a pullback in the U.S. dollar and rising volatility early in the week. Takeaway. Tariff risk and inflation uncertainty have pushed investors back into hard assets. The breakout above $4,200 sets a new technical floor for gold's long-term uptrend. Economic data recap, inflation, trade, and growth signals. China, exports plus 8.3%, imports plus 7.4%. Resilience despite tariffs. Eurozone, CPI steady at 2.2%, core slipped to 2.4%. UK GDP up 0.1%, industrial output 0.4%. U.S. Empire State Manufacturing Index rebounded to 10.7 from negative 8.7. Canada, housing starts surged to 279,000, showing strength even amid tariff fallout. Takeaway. Growth is holding globally, but inflation remains the key variable ahead of next week's U.S. CPI print. Volatility check. VIX calms down after spike. The VIX surged to 27.9 midweek before settling at 22 by Friday, reflecting easing stress after bank earnings stabilized markets. Range to watch, between 20 and 24, still elevated but improving. Technical analysis, SPY, JPMorgan, and Taiwan Semiconductor, SPY, S&P 500 ETF. The index tested 665 resistance this week. On the 5-minute Ichimoku chart, SPY now sits comfortably above the cloud, signaling bullish short-term momentum. Ichimoku. Conversion line crosses above the baseline, and the lagging span cleared price. Classic early bullish signal. MACD shows early bullish convergence, with histogram bars narrowing toward zero. Read. As long as SPY holds above 663, an upside continuation towards 670 is possible next week. A break below 660 would suggest a short-term exhaustion. JPMorgan Chase JPMorgan delivered strong Q3 earnings, EPS $5.07 versus $4.84 expected, revenue $46.4 billion versus $45.3 billion, reaffirming its dominance despite credit concerns. Technically, the stock trades just below the Ichimoku cloud. Ichimoku. Baseline is flat, showing consolidation. Conversion line is close below it, suggesting indecision. MACD flattening near the zero line, indicating momentum balance. Read, neutral short-term outlook. Support around 295 to 296. Sustained closes above 300 could trigger a cloud breakout toward 305 to 307 if market sentiment improves. Taiwan's semiconductor TSMC. TSMC impressed investors with EPS $2.92 versus $2.62 expected, and revenue $33.1 billion versus $31.9 billion. Yet the stock remains range-bound near 297, reflecting caution around tariff risks. Ichimoku. Price remains below the cloud, but the forward cloud is starting to flatten, suggesting possible trend stabilization. MACD. Bearish momentum has slowed, histogram showing early signs of reversal. Read. Consolidation likely between 278 and 300. A confirmed breakout above 300 would signal renewed strength in semiconductors. Final takeaways. Markets, tech, banks, and energy led the rebound. Healthcare lagged. Policy, Trump's tariffs are reshaping North American manufacturing and trade alignment. Commodities, gold's surge confirms risk aversion remains high. Volatility, cooling, but still sensitive to policy headlines. Outlook, if CPI softens and earnings hold, October could mark a turning point for sentiment. That wraps up this week's Anafram Market Perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe for Monday's setup and share this video with a fellow market watcher. Stay informed, stay strategic, and see you next week.
Thanks for watching. If you found this valuable, hit subscribe and share this with others. See you next time on Anafram Market Perspectives.